This is CS 470. We're Matthew and Ruby, and we're going to be covering connection resiliency and command interception. This is ASP.NET tutorial number 4. To begin, you should have already completed tutorials 1 through 3 listed below, and configured and become comfortable with Microsoft Azure and Visual Studio. Your objectives for this tutorial are to allow your application to be accessible for anyone on the web, moving past just publishing on localhost, which is on your own machine. Prepare your project to efficiently and effectively publish to cloud, become familiar with transient error management, and transient errors are errors that resolve themselves within only a short time period. Learn about and implement connection resiliency, which is automatic retries to handle transient errors. Learn about and implement command interception, which is catching queries sent to your SQL database for management. First of all, why do we need connection resiliency? Microsoft Azure SQL database is cloud-based, and cloud services encounter more transient connection errors, even if they're hosted in the same data center. Cloud services are shared by multiple users, which means slower response time and more competition for access. Just introduces more problems. So to resolve these issues, we'll use connection resiliency feature. It's already provided in Entity Framework 6, which automates retries for failed queries to the SQL database. So now we know why connection resiliency is important, but how should we set it up? What's the process? First, we need to determine which errors or exceptions will commonly be transient. That is, where are these transient errors most likely to occur? Next, determine an appropriate wait time for retries of failed queries. In other words, how long should it wait before it tries again, before it reloads? Finally, determine a realistic retry count before failing. How many times should it retry before it gives up altogether? For now, we can use our default values in this tutorial, but just know that these settings can be manually configured for other cases that you might encounter later on. Next, why do we need command interception? Command interception provides a means to track and test connection resiliency functions. In other words, the transient errors are difficult to create for testing purposes. It's difficult to start those, so we use command interception to catch and simulate these transient errors to know if our connection resiliency is working. We also need command interception to implement more efficient ways to manage cloud applications. We can track the success or failure of requests and hold track of those via logging. How should we go about implementing our command interception? Well, first of all, command interception is simply intercepting commands, also known as queries. Queries are sent from the Entity Framework to the SQL server, and command interception replaces the server response with a transient exception so that we can track and manage those errors. Now that you have all that background information, let's get started. Launch your Contoso University project, and we'll begin by creating a class that derives from the DB configuration class. We'll modify our SQL database execution strategy, also known as our retry policy, once we get there. Let's take a look.